So let's start. Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Leadership Communication in a Virtual World. My name is Carla Espinosa and I'm really excited to be hosting this session in behalf of Hispanotech. First of all, I would like to thank you all for being here, and also I want to thank TRIAC for providing us with the means to bring this together through their online platform. Next, before I introduce our speaker today, I would like to remind you that at the end of our session, we will have 15 minutes to answer any questions. Please write these questions in the Q&A panel. Also, during this session, we will have some exercises and we encourage you to participate. And to do so, please raise your hand by clicking on the icon, on the hand icon, and we will unmute you. And also, if you miss anything about the presentation, don't worry, we will be sharing a handout in Hispanotech's LinkedIn. I'll be sharing the link in the chat. And finally, I'm pleased to introduce our speaker tonight, Bonnie Gross. Bonnie, combining speech pathology and media arts, has created an innovative speaking skills program with outstanding measurable results for the past 25 years. She is currently president of Speech Science International, and she is the former president of the Ontario Speech Hearing Association. She was also the creator and head of the Department of Speech Pathology and Audiology of Toronto's Scarborough General Hospital for 15 years. She also has delivered courses about leadership, speaking mastery, accent reduction, executive voice and speaking skills, public speaking, presence and charisma courses, which were delivered to Fortune 500 companies, United Nations, New York, and many private clients, including executives, rising business people, actors, and singers. Also, she was award recipient for several awards, which were honors of the Ontario Association of Speech, Language Pathology, and Audiology for outstanding contribution to the profession, the Ethnicity Programming Excellence Award, a weekly TV show highlighting ethnic issues in the news in Canada, and Reader's Choice Award, Toronto Star, for Best Speech Service in Toronto in 2019. So without further ado, I will now leave the presentation on Bonnie's hands.
Thank you very much. Sounds like my mother wrote that introduction. Thank you very much for that. So I'm very excited to do this with all of you today because this is the way we are communicating with each other all of the time or most of the time, either with video or voice or both, but not so much in person. In the old days, 4 or 5 months ago, I used to teach, and I still do, presentation skills, how to be really good in front of an audience. Now, I'm still doing that, but people need to sound strong, and they need to sound like a leader, and they need to be influential, but it's over the computer, with video, with audio, or with both. And so this course is how you can be really good in communicating in the world we're in now, the virtual world. And I believe that we are going to continue this way for a long time and combine it with face-to-face communication. And so you can see this is my agenda of all the different things that I'm going to talk to you about today. I want to talk about how you can sound really good, how you can, and by the way, all of these tips, or almost all of them, you can use the same tips and the same techniques when you're actually in front of an audience or you're at a meeting in person too. So let's get started. Talking about virtual, which is mainly what this is about. As I said before, this is the new normal. And we are communicating this way. I'm talking this way to people all day. And Maybe you are too. And I believe the people who are really good at this kind of communication are the people who are going to stand out from their competitors. And that's why I want to teach you all of this. The first thing is the psychological shift between talking to people and where you see the people and you are interacting with them, and talking to a machine. So right now, I can't see any of you. I'm talking to a big square machine in front of me. And you have to get over that in a way. You have to realize in your mind that you aren't just talking to a machine, or you can't just, you know, if I was going to read everything like this, like you're right out there. And so I need to talk to you. And so these are the things that we worry about. We worry about, how am I going to talk to a machine? Or, oh my God, everybody's going to judge me. Of course, you worry about that in person too, but how do you shift and not worry about the fact that everybody is looking at you and judging you? Some people believe that the way you present, particularly over virtually, should be different from your usual personality. We'll talk about that in a moment. And some people believe that they have to know everything. And this is not just true for a virtual presentation, it's any presentation. I better know everything. I better not make a mistake. I better, you know, all this pressure that you put on yourself. And so let's look at how you can change those perceptions and those worries, because part of being good in person or virtually is to just look at what you're really worried about and decide, do you really have to worry about it? Or even better than that, what are you going to do about it? So, are you talking to a machine? Or it feels weird talking to a machine? Yeah, it feels a little weird, but the fact is, you're not talking to a machine. You're not. It's like talking to a television camera or a radio microphone. Behind it are people. Could be hundreds of people, or 10 people, or 20 people, but you are talking to people. And what you need to do is remind yourself of that each time, so that even though it feels weird, you actually are talking to people and they're listening to you. So it's a mind shift. Now, of course, everybody worries about being judged, and the fact is, you are being judged. So I'm not going to tell you that you need to memorize everything, or that there's a magic way that people won't judge you. You are being judged. We are always being judged, but you can make sure that you are being judged very well and positively, so people admire you. And the way that's going to happen is by doing many of the things, or maybe all of the things I'm going to teach you today. So just to make sure that you are at your very best. Now, let's talk about, what if you make a mistake? That's what most people worry about. They're going to judge me. I can't make a mistake. Okay, you are going to make a mistake. That's the reality. I'm sure I will make a mistake too. It doesn't matter. When you're doing a presentation, one way or the other, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. No one will know, and no one will care. Or if it's really that important that if you want to correct yourself, that's okay. What really matters is not whether or not you make a mistake. Don't let that worry stop you from being dynamic and fantastic as a presenter. What matters is how you handle that mistake. For example, some people worry so much about remembering everything that they start reading. They're reading, right? I'm reading, you know, or they start memorizing. And then that makes you a boring speaker. But you can plan, okay, if I leave something out, what if I leave something out? Okay, how I handle it matters. I'm just going to say, you know, there's something important that I want to bring up here. and then you bring up the thing that you forgot to say. So you notice I said that with a very confident voice. So if you plan that in advance and you practice by speaking out loud, then people will not care if you left something out or if you make a mistake. Just correct it by having a confident voice. And then it allows you, it frees you up to be yourself. Now, many people believe that when they're presenting, they have to be different than the way they are in person. Well, maybe that's true a little bit. We all have a presentation style, but mostly it's important to just try to be yourself, even though you're just talking to that little camera on your computer. And how are you going to get into that feeling of being yourself? The secret is to practice out loud. If you have, if you're presenting at a meeting or expressing yourself, most people practice by writing all the notes, writing, memorizing, reading, and going over it or going over slides. Oh, I've got to make my slides fantastic. And they're designing the slides and putting everything on it. And really, truly, you've got to do that. You've got to prepare in reverse. If you present out loud and you practice out loud, pardon me, then you're going to get a good feeling for being yourself and you're going to allow yourself. If you practice in your mind or just by looking at slides, you'll never be able to be yourself on camera. So try that. Try it. You can even record yourself, listen back. It'll help you to be yourself. Now, let's talk about the purpose of the communication. Would you say that your purpose, when you are visible to everybody, is it to give information? Is it to create really great slides as your handout? Or is it to persuade people? Now, I can't see you, so I'm not sure what you're thinking, but I believe that all good presentations, whether they're virtual like this, it's a little harder when they're virtual, or in person, it's all about persuasion. That's the secret. If you want to give information, you can give that in a handout. They don't need you to be on camera. But if you want to convince people of something, that makes your voice change. It makes the way you present your ideas change. And so it starts with what's in your mind about, I'm going to do this presentation. I need to be persuasive. It changes your tone of voice and the way you act in front of the camera. And so once you've decided that what the purpose of your presentation, when I say presentation, I mean it just could be remarks at a meeting, your communication. The purpose of your communication is to be persuasive or to be convincing, to move people, to make them feel something. That's very different from just giving information. Of course, you are going to give information. That's extremely important. But think about it in terms of persuasion. And before you start, you're going to plan what you're going to say. Now, of course, you're going to plan what you're going to say, but don't start with your slides. Start with, what are you going to say that's going to make people want to hear more? People often start with the diagrams, but I think if you plan a really good introduction, a really good ending, and you plan your topics in between, and I think you should do all of this on paper or on the computer if you like, on a Word document. It's like making a little script for yourself. Before you even think about slides, how are you going to draw people in? How are you going to end it so that they are excited about what they heard? And how is the information going to flow from one topic to the next? If you plan this in advance, and we need another webinar for me to tell you how to do this in detail, but I want you to be good virtually. You need to plan your remarks. Okay, so For example, in introduction, I could say, hello everyone, my name is Bonnie Gross, and today I'm going to give you 10 tips on being a good communicator, especially virtually. Or I could say to you, let me think about this. I could say, this webinar is going to help you shine in front of an audience. Speak like a leader, be perceived as a leader, and for you to have excellent communication. Now, I just introduced the exact same webinar in two different ways. The first one was boring. The second one was interesting and made you, I hope, want to hear more. My point is, plan what you're going to say. That's more than introducing yourself. Make people want to hear more. And then plan your ending so that people feel good and satisfied and maybe want to contact you again for something. Also, make sure that you time yourself so that you don't feel rushed through it. Now, okay, you've got your script, you're in front of the camera, you've psyched yourself into it, you're all set, okay. There are some problems that people have, and I have the solutions. Or there are more than 7, but most of the time, these are the areas that people are concerned about, both with virtual communication and with in person, but I'm going to relate everything to virtual communication. Now, let me just see. Small talk, okay. Hi, how are you? Fine, thanks. How are you? I'm fine, etc., etc. Let's say you're going to a virtual meeting, which is what it is these days, and you're meeting with your team, and everybody's on Zoom or Teams. And what I'm saying is that even though you're virtual, small talk matters. It warms people up. It makes people feel comfortable with you. And so by saying, hi, how are you doing? How, have you been out lately? Just like Laura and I were talking before the webinar started. Even if it's virtual and you're talking to a screen, or maybe you can see people in little squares, smile and say hello and have a little chit chat before the meeting. I think it makes the meeting more natural. Now, I did mention this before, but it's about what are you going to talk about? And I suggest never memorizing, because especially if people are especially if people are listening to you and you've only got audio, but even with audio and video, if you memorize, it's going to sound like you're memorizing, and no one's going to want to listen because it's going to be really boring. If you are reading a script or you sound memorized. And so even more so on audio calls. And so how are you going to sound natural? Well, you make bullets on a script and you just speak to the bullets. Don't memorize. Even if you're showing slides and you've got your notes under them, you will sound much more natural if you just speak to the bullets. Make a mistake, handle it the way I mentioned before. Now, excuse me. One of the things that is very important virtually and in person is, okay, you're giving the webinar, you're at the meeting. How are you going to sound good? How are you going to, I told you to be convincing, didn't I? I told you to be persuasive. How are you going to sound persuasive? Okay, I'm going to give you some very good tips. Now, just putting it in perspective, I think everything you do before you get to this point is important, but now you're there. So this is actually even more important over conference call. I really don't like conference calls personally. I think you can't see people, and if you can't see people, you don't know how they're responding to you. And so I like visual best, But anyway, to each their own. How are you going to use your voice so people want to listen? Okay, so now I have some interesting exercises. Instead of me just telling you the tips, if I tell you the speaking tips, that's not really going to, it's not going to help you. But if you try them or you hear me do them, then what I want you to do is be brave and try them on your own. Now I have some quotes of famous people. Would anybody like to try this? We're going to try 2 ways and then you'll see the difference. Anybody put up their virtual hand? No? Okay, I will show you.
Yeah.
Here's a
someone, sorry.
Oh, excellent, Claudia.
Yeah, Claudia, yeah.
Oh, great. So Claudia, I'm going to ask you to do this 2 ways. So give it a try as you see it.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's give it a try. I will say, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are the ones we have been waiting for.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Now I want you to try it again. And I want you to really stress the orange words with your voice. Stress them like that.
Okay. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones have been waiting for.
Good. Okay. I hope, thank you very much. I hope that you could all hear the difference in the first one and the second one. If you stress the important words with your voice and make them louder, then people are drawn to your remarks and they hear your message better. Now, next tip. I call this the newscaster tip because newscasters always do it, even though you aren't aware of it when you're listening. Can I have another volunteer to try this one? No one? Oh, Jose, excellent. Okay, let's try, we'll try it 2 ways. Give it a try.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Tonight's news report will focus on the problems in the environment and what our government is doing about them.
Pretty good, pretty good. Now do it again and really stress the yellow words.
Tonight's news report will focus on the problems in the environment and what our government is doing about them.
Good, great, thank you. So here's the tip. Never let your voice fade away at the end of a sentence or the end of a phrase. That's where the message is. So people don't know you're doing that, but you just sound really good and they get your message. So whether it's video or audio or in person, many people are in the habit of their voice just fading away. You know, tonight's news report will focus on the problems in the environment and what our government is doing about them. You didn't do that, Jose. I'm just showing you the other way. That was excellent. Stress the ends of the sentence. Okay. Do I have another volunteer? Oh, wow, good. Oh, so I think the first one was Marie, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
So,
Okay, so let me tell you, so give it a try just as you see it. The first 2 bullets, and then give it a try.
okay. Last year, 80% of our income came from contributions. This year, the figure was 91%.
Okay, okay, nice. Now, I want you to do 2 things. You're making a comparison. We're saying this was last year, now it's this year. See if you can do it again and don't let your voice drop on the end, but change your tone for each one. Last year this happened, and this year this happened. Like change your expression. Give it a try.
Last year, 80% of our income came from contributions. This year, the figure was 91%.
Good, good. You could even do, this year the figure was 91%.
Okay.
Now, there isn't only one way to do it, but that brings people's attention to the numbers and the percentage. Thank you very much for that. It was great. Okay, who would like to try the next one of the other volunteers?
Citlali was raising her hand.
Yeah,
Pardon?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Go for it.
We're trying the same one?
No, we're trying the bottom one, the second one.
The bottom,
Make
sorry,
your
yeah.
voice, make your voice very different on the second part so that people hear the difference. Hear the
Okay.
point.
In the class of 1947, 40 kids went to college. In the class of 97, there were 250.
Good. All right. Good. So when people are listening to you, they might see on your slides the difference, but if you can make the difference with your voice, it's very effective. Makes you a very good speaker. Now, here's my next tip. And my next tip is, it is really important to always sound enthusiastic about what you're talking about. Now, when I say enthusiasm, I don't mean happy necessarily. I don't mean that you have to sound happy if it's not a happy topic. But what I do mean is you have to sound like you care in your voice. I care. Let's just say, I've got some examples here, but let me think of a more business type of example. When everybody comes back to work after being isolated, it is so important that we keep at a distance. Okay, so let me just say that with enthusiasm. When we all get back to work, it is so important that we keep our distance, that we keep safe, and that we take care of ourselves and each other. So that's what I mean by enthusiastic. You put the message, I care, in your voice. Very important. Do I have a volunteer to try one of these? Just what I want you to do is just think to yourself, I care, and let that come in your voice. We'll try the first. Make me feel like you want to have dinner with me. Who wants to try? Okay, Tanya. I can't hear anything.
No.
Okay.
I hope we can meet and talk again soon.
Good. Okay, that makes me feel like you mean it. Excellent. Okay, and who would like to try the bottom one, which is a very good quote from Justin Trudeau's father when he was Prime Minister? Say it like you mean it. Who would like to try? Okay, I'll do it. I will do it. I will not leave Ottawa until the country and the government are irreversibly bilingual. And so that sounds much better than, I will not leave Ottawa until the country and the government are irreversibly bilingual. I'm obviously reading. And if you are speaking virtually, it's going to sound like people will not pay attention. But just say, think to yourself, I care, and it'll come out in your voice. And as I said before, practice being yourself. How are you going to be yourself? By not reading and not memorizing. I love this one. To put a smile in your voice. You know, this takes a little practice because it might be that people can't see you, and not all subjects are about smiling, but if you think about a radio announcer who you really like, somebody on the radio, you always turn to that station, you love hearing that person, they sound great, and they make you feel like they're coming into your home and that they're inviting you into their home rather. And that's because they do this. Remember, that person on the radio is all alone in a room with no windows and a double door shut with a microphone. That's it. But that person makes you feel welcome. And that's because they put a smile in their voice, or they put emotion into their voice. Would anyone like to try this quote from Michelle Obama? And think about smiling and see how it makes your voice sound. Anyone? Natalie? Okay, perfect. Think smile. You can even really smile because we can't see you, and let's hear how your voice sounds.
Okay. Did you hear me?
Yes.
Success isn't about how much money you make. It's about the difference you make in people's life.
Excellent. Excellent. So it sounded inviting. Very nice. Now, before I tell you what this is, I would like somebody to try it 2 ways, and then you'll hear the difference. Anyone?
I can try.
Sure. Okay. 2 ways. This is the first way.
Reducing our national garbage output to 5 million tons per year is a physical impossibility. 5 million tons of garbage are thrown into Lake Ontario every month.
Very good. Now, when you see the ... pause. Give it a big pause and then keep going and stress the important words. Okay, try again.
Okay. Reducing our national garbage output to 5 million tons per year is a physical impossibility. 5 million tons of garbage are thrown into Lake Ontario every month.
Fantastic. So it's very important to pause. Sometimes people don't like to pause for various reasons, but when you pause, it makes people really pay attention to what you have to say. And I think you could hear that very well in the way Carla did it. Now, let's talk about your voice. Now, I think that the sound of a person's voice, and I'm not talking now about the tone and the expression, I'm talking about the physical voice. It actually can say to people whether you're confident or not confident by just the way the voice sounds. What do I mean by the physical voice? I mean your pitch. Is it very high? If I was talking to you like this in a high pitch, it's not quite the same as when I'm talking to you in my natural pitch. Is your voice full? Like right now, my voice is resonant. If I do this, you can hear my voice. It sounds fine. It's just not full and resonant. What I did there is I stopped breathing. I stopped breathing, so it makes the voice thin. Also, how's your volume? Is it loud? Is it medium? Is it soft? If a person talks like this, when they're speaking virtually, it's very hard to pay attention. Okay, so if I talk too softly, as opposed to normally, people, they start to tune out. And so I want you to think about your voice. Where would you put your voice? Is it too high, too low, somewhere just right? Is it full or is it thin? Is it loud or is it soft? Is it high or is it low or just right? Where should your voice be? Well, everybody is a little different, of course, but here are the voice tips. Your voice should always be a natural pitch, not too high. It should just be a good natural deep pitch or medium pitch. How are you going to always have that great pitch? By breathing out, in part. You want to have not too loud, not too soft, but especially not too soft. You want to have natural resonance, and you do that by using the deep tones of your voice. Everybody has deep, medium, and high pitch tones. We all have all of them. If a person's voice is too high pitched or too thin, or people can't hear them, it often is because they're not using their natural, deeper, lower tones. Also, you want to make sure you're using your natural resonance. That means you want the voice to bounce around in here. How are you going to do all these things? By two ways. By always making sure that you breathe out when you speak. If a person is nervous, okay, suddenly you're going to go on a conference call. Okay, the microphone is on. Oh my God. Or you're going to go on Zoom. Oh my God, the camera's on. What are you going to do? You're going to hold your breath if you're nervous. You don't even know you're doing it. But we all just go, oh my God, I can't wait till this is over. Talk, 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 talk. Oh my God, thank God it's over. That's breath holding. My tip, there's many things that you can do, but for the purpose of today, when I've only got an hour with all of you, most important thing, make sure that you're always breathing out when you speak. And then your voice will be carried and will sound nice and resonant. Sometimes it's very hard for people to achieve that if they're in bad habits, and then you might need some extra help in how to do that, or just practice on your own a lot until you're comfortable doing it in front of the camera. It's really worth it, because when you breathe out and you have you use your deep tones, it says to other people, I'm confident. Now, let's talk about all the habits that we don't like when we hear other people speak, or we don't like when we hear ourselves on camera. There are many good habits, which are the ones I just told you about. Now, how about getting rid of bad habits? Mispronunciations. Now, I would love to have several hours to help you with all of these things, but we don't. So I'm just going to bring them to your attention. If English is not your first language, and actually, these are sometimes our problems when English is a person's first language, but these are the most common mistakes that people made. I have to say though, that each person who I've heard who's volunteered, you sound really good. I have to say, I'm impressed. Anyway, these sounds, the sound th in English, the sound the sound make v and w and b, and making the difference in those. Though just by changing and improving those three sounds, there's more, but those three will make a huge difference in the clarity of your English. The vowel sounds, this is very, very true of people going from Spanish to English or from Portuguese to English, and many other languages as well, but making the difference between E and I, eat it, making the difference between a and e, mat, met, making the difference between o, particularly the sound ah, like bought or caught. Those are the most common errors that people make going from one language into English, and it's worth fixing those. The flow of English, it makes a huge difference when you are talking virtually, especially virtually, and even in person. So that even if everything sounds great in terms of the sounds that I just mentioned, the flow has to be there too. For example, word stress, a word like international. If I said to you, international, or international, or international. Ah, third one, you understand me. That's because I put the stress in the right place. Same with the rhythm of a sentence. The rhythm of the sentence, meaning which words do you stress and which words do you not stress, it changes the meaning of the sentence. For example, I could say, let's go to the meeting today. Or I could say, let's go to the meeting today. Or let's go to the meeting at 3 o'clock today. So I'm going up and down in the sentence, right? Let's go to the meeting at 3 o'clock today. Instead of, let's go to the meeting at 3 o'clock today. Fast, okay? So by having an up and down flow of the words and an up and down flow of the sentence, it makes a huge improvement. And people tend to not think about those things, but they actually do. Once again, if we had lots of time, I could help you change all of these right now, but what I especially wanted to do is bring it to your attention of how you can help yourself sound clearer on just very specific sounds and rhythms. Okay, so the slide I showed you before is, this is a repeat of it, more or less. Okay, here's what everybody always worries about. I say too many ums. And why do so many people say all the time? Anybody want to volunteer an answer? No? I think, yes, Jose?
Yes, I think it's sometimes we are afraid of the silences.
You're right. You're right. And that's what I hear. Why are people afraid of silence? Didn't you? You could hear a few minutes ago how great it sounds when you leave pauses, when you have a good silence. When you're speaking, it sounds impressive. It sounds confident. So what's the fear of silence? You're right.
So I would say that it's probably because these spaces may just feel, although I think personally that it's like a self-reflection moment, we just may think that we are going to lose the connection with our audience.
I think you're right. I think you are right. And so you fill it in with And so if I was talking to you and giving this webinar and I just kept talking, and every time I wanted to pause, I put in an like I am now, and I just kept talking, and I'm going to tell you about this next tip. I think you would all sign off if I kept talking that way. You can hear on me when I put in all those how bad it sounds, even though, Jose, you are exactly right. Am I pronouncing your name right, by the way? Is it Jose?
Yes, it's Jose.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, yes, it is silent. You don't lose the connection with the audience. You gain the connection with the audience. And so right now, I just had a big pause. And I didn't lose connection with you. And I didn't say If you do a lot of ums, how are you going to train yourself out of it? First, be aware for a while that you said or like or or okay, they're all the same. After you're aware of it, then have a nice deep breath instead. And it takes some time to get used to it, but it's really worth it. Oh, same thing. Now, body language matters. Let's talk about virtual communication, because we all know that body language matters when you're in person, but why should it even matter when you're on the phone? Why? Because nobody can see you. Well, why should it matter when you're talking virtually? Like, you can only see me from here up, but So does that mean I should be stiff if I just talk to you like this the whole time? Now I'm not using my hands at all and I'm just talking to you, even though what's the difference? You can't see the rest of me anyway. In fact, the whole time I've been talking to you, I've been using my hands. You can't see my hands, but I've been moving, and I think it's much more natural. So if you are on camera, it matters, even if they can't see the parts that's moving. If you're on the phone, it matters too, because it changes your voice. It makes your voice sound more relaxed. If you're talking and you've got this, that conference call thing in the middle of the table, the telephone, you can get up, you can move. It's going to make your voice sound much, much more engaging. So yes, I think it matters when you're talking virtually. I have some cute pictures of body language and the origins of it. But I'll show them to you quickly because I want to talk more about virtual communication. But body language is very animal, right? If any of you have a cat or a dog, or if you ever had, you know, they don't speak, but we know exactly what they're thinking. And you know what? They know exactly what we're thinking too. So animals have body language and they read ours, and we have body language and other people can tell things about us. For example, upright, there's, you see confidence. I don't even have to explain this, it's obvious. Look at the resemblance. You know, I'm confronting you. We show it in the face. Just turn on the TV every night and you see that. If you're feeling shy or insecure, now of course, the way this woman is sitting, well, if you're virtual, people are still going to pick up that you're feeling shy. You know, you want to be upright and breathe, even virtually, but certainly in person, you can see that this posture tells people that you're not confident. Aggressive, absolutely. We all know people, I mean, this is an extreme picture. We all know people who look aggressive all the time, and that is definitely not good virtually because they can just see your face I think if you have facial expressions, this is another thing, it's not in the notes actually, but any facial expression that you have, it's going to be exaggerated on camera. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be smiling. You should be, but you don't want to be like that or like that or like that, you know, or aggressive. The camera picks it up even more. Same with this kind of facial expression, okay? You're talking to people virtually. If you start looking over there like I am now, or you start looking there, you start looking down at your notes, or you know, make your eyes look like I don't trust you, it really comes across virtually. So now, of course, we can't always help our facial expression. You know, we always are going to react, but watch out for the negative facial expressions because they really show up. There's a good one. You can tell I like her. I think she's a great communicator. Upright, smile, shoulders square, not bent over. See, if I was talking to you like this, it wouldn't be too good, right? This is better. My whole point is posture and movement and facial expression matter on camera, and you want to be relaxed and open and smiling, and people will listen to you much better. So you can see here some, I think I've already talked about this, how it affects you on camera. Now, let's look at more virtual communication issues that people are often concerned about. Now, let's say you're going to a meeting and it's everybody from your team and everybody's at home and everybody's working from home and everybody is not worried about whether they grow a beard or their hair is messy or they're wearing a sweatshirt. You know, we've all had many, many meetings like this. Personally, I think if you're doing business and you're at a business meeting, whether it's with your own team or with one person, I think grooming matters. You always want to look like who you are in the office or who the client expects you to be. I think, so one tip about the camera is, and I guess this is mostly for women, but not all, if your hair is more off your face, it's better for the camera. It might look really good in person to have lots of hair around your face, but it doesn't look good on camera. How do you dress? Okay, so my point there is dress like the position you want. That's if you're going for a job interview. However, dress like the position you're in as well. If you're going to a business meeting, I think you want to have, at least from the waist up, doesn't really matter about the waist down, but wear something that looks like you're a leader if you are leading the meeting, or that looks businesslike, or something that looks professional. That's the word I'm looking for. Now, I think that's true for men too. Now, not everybody at the meeting is going to do that, but you want to look very professional, and you want people to expect that you are like that too. Another tip about the camera, which is different from in person. If you have a high neckline and too much jewelry and scarves and earrings and things going on here, it's really not, it does not look good on camera. It might look great in person, but if you have a high neckline or a lot of things going on here, it says, I don't want to communicate, or I'm not comfortable communicating. A neckline or open, little bit open, says communicative. Very important. If you watch people on TV, you can see that. And again, too many things dangling from you is exaggerated, too much. If you don't know what to wear and you're not sure, the best color for camera is blue. There's lots of good colors, but blue translates very well. Makeup, yes, ladies, but not as much as you, not too much, because again, that's exaggerated. Lighting, very important. Maybe you've all realized this by now because you've been talking over the computer for a long time, but if you want to look your best, which we all want to, if you could put your computer in front of a north-facing window, you'll have the best natural light on you. And it's very flattering. And this is true for men, women, everybody. If you have a soft curtain, it's very, it also creates nice lighting. And the lighting behind you should be soft. So if you have, like, if I have like a bright light behind me shining down, it glares, and it's not quite as nice in behind you. And sometimes it can make your face look bad too. Depends on how important that is to you, but look, what the heck? It's important to all of us, right? We're all sitting, we want to look our best. So north-facing window, soft lighting, very nice. Very important, the background. Now, I don't know if you've tried virtual backgrounds or not. Personally, some of them are pretty good, actually. Some of them look like a nice room. You want to look like you're in a nice room. What's even better is to make your room look nice. And it should look warm and professional, not your, not with stuff all over the place and messy. And I think when I see people with virtual backgrounds, like if it's a beach or I saw one the other day, it was a beach or sailboats, I think to myself, are they hiding something? But if it looks like an office virtual background, that's fine. Or better, if you take your personal background and just check it in the camera. Check it in the camera. Like behind me, I have a chair, I have a degree, I have a background. I mean, it's mirrors. So that's kind of nice. I hope it isn't too distracting, but it isn't just a blank wall, but a plant, some flowers, a piece of art. It can look like your home, but it looks nice and it isn't too distracting. Something important about the camera. A lot of people have meetings with their phone. Okay, look, phone, it's handy, it's always there, why not? But check the angle, because you don't want to have the phone facing up at your neck so that it, you're looking up talking to people, or that's very common. Make sure that whatever camera you're using, whether it's on your laptop or your desktop, you're looking right at it, straight. And so people see you, and they see you the same as if they would see you as if you were in the office talking to them. So check the angle. It's really important. And then if you need to read notes, I don't know if I have this one or not. I don't. Okay, let's say you want to read notes. Take those notes and make sure that they're in front of your face. So for example, here's the agenda. This is the agenda that we have for today. And I've been checking it because I want to make sure I don't go over the time, okay? So I put that agenda in front of me. It's in front of me, but it's just low down so you don't see it, but I see it, okay? So it's just right in front of me. So my eyes are going to always keep on what time it is, but I don't have to look down to find it. I can still look at you. Same with your notes. You don't want to, if you don't want to be looking down and then looking up to talk to people on camera. Now, to state the obvious, try to keep, if you're having an important business meeting and your dog and your kids are walking by and people are like taking the laundry and saying, oh, here, I just wanted to put the laundry away. Look, we all understand. We're all in the same boat. But if it's an important meeting, or if you're the host of a webinar, like I am right now, you really don't want to have that happen if you can avoid it. And also, I think we're going to be communicating and meeting this way a lot, even when this is over. And so good to get into good habits at the beginning. Let's say you're presenting. Here's a checklist, right? Make your notes. Print big. Why should you print big? So that you don't have to go like this in front of people. So that if it's in front of you, you can just glance at those bullets. Remember, bullets, not big long paragraphs. And then it reminds you, and you can look right up at the camera. Practice out loud. It's going to help you be natural. Start early so that you can avoid any technical problems. And test, of course, test all the technology. Lots of tips in a short period of time. Just to let you know that if anybody wants to have any one-on-one coaching or Teams coaching, everybody who came to this webinar gets a discount from me, okay? So I appreciate that you coming, and I want to give you something in return. And so good luck with all of your virtual communication and your real communication. And now I'm open to any questions that you have.
Great. Making remarks about building trust in a virtual world and how to solve the biggest virtual mistakes and eliminate poor speaking habits. I will definitely keep in mind all of those wonderful tips for my next online meeting and also for my daily conversations. So we will now move on to the Q&A. Okay, so we have a couple of questions now, so I'll read them out loud. Okay, we have Marcela Cervantes. Hello, I want to ask Bonnie that it seems to be easier to focus on what words to remark and how to adapt our voice to show we care. It seems more difficult if we are not reading a slide. Any suggestions on that?
You mean to sound like you care when you are in fact reading a slide?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yes? Like, it is very difficult to sound like you care or to use any of these tips. Well, mostly to sound like you care. If you're reading, because you're reading, but if you put the notes in bullets and you write big and your eyes just go to the bullets, like to the 1 or 2 words for each point, and you put the points in your own words, it won't sound like you're reading, and it's easier to sound like you care and to practice that way. If you're reading a slide, you can get good at reading and sounding like you care, but it takes a lot of practice. Like, I know I can do that because I've practiced for years, but it's always better never to read a slide. And I didn't say anything about slides in this webinar, but I think that on any slide, the less words you have, the better. A slide is not the presentation. You are the presentation. Your ideas, your voice, your tone, the parts that you bring out to everybody, that's the presentation. The slide is the visual that just enhances that. So in terms of what you're going to say, don't put the words on the slide, put the words underneath in bullets and then speak to them, and it'll be great. People are scared to do that, but try it. It works. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. So the next question, Claudia, how can I identify my own voice?
Well, you could try recording yourself. You just use your phone. Let's say you're going to a meeting tomorrow or the next day. You have to present an idea. You're worried about it, or you just want to know how you sound. Record it, listen back. But now you know what to listen for, right? You know to stress the important words, give some pauses, don't read, don't let your voice fade away, make it strong at the end. Think about these things that we've talked about and notice on the recording if you did them. If you didn't, try again until you got the rhythm of it. I think that's the best way.
Okay, thanks. So another question from Georgia. How do you adapt your presentations when you have people with visual impairment?
Good question. So you mean, let's say the presentation is virtual. Then a person with visual impairment, there's in the computer, there are ways of enhancing the presentation for visual impairment. I haven't done it, but I've seen it. I've seen it either in Word or in PowerPoint, and it's under the settings, under accessibility. So go into the settings, look at accessibility, and look at what they have for people with visual impairment. But I think the person, well, you could enhance your presentation in that way, or a person with visual impairment can do it on their own computer. Or I always think the less words you have, the better. For example, let's look at the slide that you're looking at right now. Half of it is a picture. The other half of it is bullets with just a few things written. So it would be pretty easy for me to make this printing much bigger. So don't have too many words on any slide. I don't think anybody should anyway, because as soon as there's too many words on a slide, everybody goes and reads and reads and reads, and they're not paying any attention to you. So I wouldn't have it any busier than this and make the print big. It's another way to do it.
Okay, thank you. So any more questions? No, I don't see any more questions, but let's see. Okay, I have another one. From Andres, what exercises would you recommend to reduce the high pitch of a voice?
Okay, there are many exercises that you can do. The first thing is, oh, wow. I'm trying to make this so that you can tell you just enough so you can do them on your own. The first thing is to make sure that you breathe out when you speak. The second thing is to try to feel the vibration in your chest when you're talking, because you can't do that with a high pitch. You can only do that with a low pitch. So like right now, if I put my fingers here, I can feel the vibration. And then think about, you can just go like this. Oh, like sort of sing down the scale and then stay down there and practice talking at a lower pitch. And I have an app on my phone, okay? I'm going to show it to you. You can use it to hear back your voice and also measure. Let me just find it here. It's called Voice Analyzer. Oh, Voice Analyst. Voice Analyst. Okay. And I looked at I wanted something for people to be able to use on their own, for my clients to use on their own. In my office, I have a fantastic tool that'll help you speak lower in about an hour. But I don't have that. You can't buy that for yourself. So I was looking for something similar. So it's called Voice Analyst. I got it on the App Store. You do have to pay for it, but it's not very much money. And I don't know if you can see. Oh no, you're looking at my kids. Okay, no, it's a blue square with a green circle in the middle and some white. So I really did test all of those tools and I like that one the best. And it shows you graphically where your pitch is. And so you can practice with it and you'll know if your pitch is down because you can hear yourself, but also you can see the graph going down. I hope that's clear, but anyway, play with it and see what you think. And there are other ones out there. I didn't like them as much as this one, but give it a try.
Could you repeat the name of the app again?
Voice Analyst,
okay.
ANALYST.
Okay.
And it's a blue square with a green circle in it, inside. A big green circle and some white lines. And it's got that logo and you'll recognize it.
Okay, okay, maybe
So it doesn't tell you how to make your voice at a lower pitch. It does let you hear yourself and you can try different things until you like the way it sounds.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question. Which types or exercises do you recommend to talk without holding the breath? Because it becomes a habit and it is difficult to remove.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it takes about 3 months of practice to change it. I would just start off just going, that's it. Okay, just do it. So you want to have voice and air at the same time. Like that. Just make sure it's voice and air at the same time. Okay, next exercise. You want to talk. So that's usually when people start holding their breath. So you want to have air and voice and lips moving at the same time. So here's one exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or A, B, C, D, E, etc. So right now, I'm just talking rote, so you're not thinking, you're just doing numbers and letters, and you can do it. It doesn't have to be in English. It can be in any language. You just want to make sure that the voice and the air are coming out at the same time. Then you start to build it. You start to read short little pieces, longer pieces. You just make sure that it's air and voice at the same time. But the exercises that I just gave you, it helps you get it without having anything big to practice. You can say like counting, alphabet, days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and just practice breathing out while you're saying it. Oh, Carla, I can't hear you. There you are.
Sorry. So I think there are no more questions. So let's give a second if anyone wants to answer something. If not, let's see. Okay, so I think everything is solved.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming, everybody, and for your questions and your participation. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bonnie. This was a very, very wonderful presentation, and it's well, in this time, like in COVID time, it's, I think, really useful to know all of this, and also for daily conversations. And thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you very much to all participants, and have a good night and stay safe.
Yes, for sure. Thanks.
Thank you very much.